Welcome to the Catalyst Podcast, Social Synergy, Easy Marketing for Your Archetype. I love to start with a story. So this is more of an interactive story. I'd like you to imagine how long you think it took me to create my first Instagram post as a fledgling functional medicine business. Whatever number you're thinking, I'd like you to probably double it. It took me over an hour. First of all, I was new to Instagram 7 years ago, didn't quite understand the difference between Instagram and Facebook, and I was still caught up early on in my perfectionistic tendencies. One might say my Resolute rock was front and center. Now, if you're new to this podcast or even to the Catalyst Archetypes, right now is the opportunity to pause and go to the show notes to take that archetype quiz. You are going to be one of 4 of these parts: Resolute rock, fervent flame, wise wind, reflective river. And if you're understanding parts work, you're going to have elements of all of these parts at some time. In fact, there might be seasonality, but most of us will have one type of personality that tends to dominate the other parts. And in my case, years ago, it was very resolute rock. I was very structured, very rigid, very solidly into that modality of perfectionism that I needed to do things right. I needed to fit in. I needed to comply with the rules of whatever Instagram was at the time. And, algorithms change, social media changes. And now, fast forward, I'm understanding how to leverage my own archetype and the seasonality of how I like to do things in a more efficient and flow-channeled method, which is what I want to share with you today. These roadmaps that you will hear about will be matched to one of the archetypes. So you're going to learn, what would a fervent flame do to show up efficiently and effectively in social media? And how does that differ than a resolute rock? The goal by the end of this podcast episode is that you can maximize your content's reach and get more engagement without sacrificing yourself and overextending your energy, pedaling you closer to burnout. That's not the end game. So let's dig in. First of all, I have to confess, I've gotten much better at the 1-hour posts. I rarely do that anymore. Not to say that doesn't happen, but I view social media as a long game. It's supposed to be a game, emphasis on game. When you are opening up an entrepreneurial business, you have to have a footprint online, a website, a social media profile, but it's up to you to dial up or down your presence. And you'll find as you kind of work around your skills and your values and what makes life fun for you, you will be drawn to specific ways to show up online. So that's my goal inside the Catalyst Studio, is to work with your skills and your unique self-expression. There is no dogma or cookie cutter way to do social media. And we try to balance that with, how do you want to show up and what makes it fun for you? So I literally keep all of these at my desk. These are the different little portfolios and descriptions of each of the 4 Catalyst archetypes. When I'm stuck, sometimes I pull them out and say, okay, which archetype is showing up right now in this moment of feeling stuck or burdened with a task? So for example, to give you a quick recap, fervent flame, these are passionate, visionary, dynamic people that are so excited about an idea, and they're charming. They are inspirational. You could probably hear them talk and they'll run with it, and usually are really great at implementing. Or sometimes not. They might be idea generators. And that's the problem, is they can have a million ideas and quickly burn out. In fact, their most likely cause of burnout is overcommitment. And when you take the archetype quiz, you will be matched to your own plan. And in that fervent flame plan, you'll see that risk of burnout is overcommitment, because everything sounds great. You're a kind of a dopamine junkie, in contrast to a resolute rock. Now, these people are dependable, methodical, and steadfast. I identify with resolute rock. I like, rigid, clear-cut, predictable cadences. I like to run my day how I like to run it. I like to plan. I like to time block. But that can run the risk of inflexibility. And I've often found my time where I have thought things would go the way they would go, and it didn't. So the sooner you learn your archetype and how to work within it, you can recognize those times that you need to wiggle a little bit and take a lesson from one of the other archetypes, like the reflective river. These catalysts are empathetic, nurturing, they're intuitive, they respond well to gut or instinct. You might say they have a really great third eye. The problem with reflective rivers, though, is you run the risk of emotional draining, and that is the highest path to burnout. So those reflective rivers do a good job if they can balance a little bit of that with some rigid structure to help prevent emotional drain. And finally, the wise wind. Wise winds are creative, adaptable, innovative. They're the first ones to try any new AI product. They're the ones to keep you updated on current changes in social media or perhaps in your organization. They're the ones sticking their neck out and fearlessly trying different things in entrepreneur land. Unfortunately, the disorganization is what can land them in burnout. So if you're listening, again, pause, go take that archetype quiz. It's 16 questions. You'll know your archetype. You'll get your download, and then you'll be able to have a plan. Because in this episode, I'm going to go through each of the archetypes and show you how you can show up on social media in a more authentic way that feels easeful and effortless. So let's get started. Fervent flame. We're going to start with a fervent flame, right? Your primary social media activity might be live videos and motivational posts on platforms like Instagram and Facebook. Why? Because the strategy of fervent flames is leveraging that natural charisma, right? You're inspirational. You're a leader. And hosting live sessions like TikTok lives or Instagram lives or Facebook lives, that really brings out that charismatic part of you. And you can interact directly with the audience. You likely get into flow in that way. In fact, if you look back on some times in your life when you felt in the zone and on autopilot, it might have been during a live interaction. Maybe you were on a panel. Maybe you were put on the spot and you had to talk about something. So there you were giving a talk on quick health tips, and you almost felt out of body because by the end of that, you delivered something great and had lots of people interested in what you had to offer. So remember those times. As a fervent flame, you can capitalize on that skill. It goes further though. As a flow channel practitioner who is a catalyst, who is looking for tiny habits that yield immense impact, I'm always telling my mentees, how can you do that again? How can you repurpose that? How can you recycle that? We don't have time to be influencers or to be on social media all the time. It's just part of an element of our business. So if you do something once, how can you repurpose that multiple times? Because social media is a river. You can do it twice, 3 times. You can put that same video up again. If you're a fervent flame and you are excited to be live, or you love video creation and you start there because that's a strong skill, then have an assistant look through that same video and extract quotes. Put it on a branded Canva background for a meme, a thumbnail that you can share later in your feed in Instagram. You can do small video clips, short form video for YouTube Shorts or for TikTok, right? You can use some of this content in a blog. You can have your assistant transcribe those live sessions. There's AI apps for this. And then that can become a more curated blog for those people that might not be into video watching, but certainly love to read what you have to say. So fervent flames have it great. They can show up and repurpose that same video over and over again. So let's move on to reflective river. If you are a reflective river, you probably like to think a lot about things, right? You're empathetic, nurturing, you're connected, you're attuned to emotions. Maybe you enjoy creative writing. Maybe you really like this thoughtful, creative, quiet activity like knitting or pottery. But you also can show up on social media. Sometimes those reflective rivers are the hardest ones to work with because they're nervous about doing it correctly. They feel that, they could be over wordy. They don't know how to truncate what they say in a video. So maybe videos aren't where you lead. As a reflective river, consider writing your detailed blog posts and articles. Start there first. Pretend like you're journaling to one of your closest friends. And if writing it out by hand is too long, start a Google document and just start pouring out, free write. You might enjoy places like Medium or Substack. You might have a personal blog, and that might be your comfort zone. Then the strategy is, if you set time to do that every week and allow yourself that creative, reflective, thought-provoking kind of free writing style, you can create these deep, thoughtful content nuggets, and it can resonate with similar people that love what you're putting down. And you can use, patient stories, obviously, without any kind of identifiers. You can give holistic health tips. You can weave all this wonderful information into this writing. You can create newsletters that people will just look forward to, because those blog posts can be repurposed. You can tell your assistant, hey, break down my favorite top paragraphs that could fit into a smaller blog post or a tweet. Find these quotes that have great takeaways. You could even put your entire written material into ChatGPT and ask it to summarize some key takeaways, placing those in a Canva thumbnail and post it later using a third-party app like Buffer. Using infographics, you can create your own or search on the internet and see if there's other creators by reposting their relatable content that pertains to your writing. It's a great way to expand your audience. So if you are a reflective river and writing comes easy, or the reverse, you like talking, but maybe not video, you can send yourself a voice memo, have it transcribed into a written prose. And if you love that kind of reflective material, repurpose that. Lead with that card, because that's your strong playing card, and continue working in your own skill set. You may never want to do video, and that's okay. There's a lot of value in static social media posting with consistency. So embrace that part of you. All right, let's move on. How about Resolute Rock? I relate to the Resolute Rock. Years ago, that was me. And seasonally, I've learned to accept all 4 archetypes that show up in my own different styles and calendars and cadences. And Resolute Rock shows up a lot because, I really like to be dependable. I like methodical strategy. I like to predict what I'm doing Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I love calendar planning. But again, I need to reserve that time for more flexibility. If you can align yourself with that Resolute Rock, you do run that risk of burnout, being inflexible. But having those scheduled regular posts can give you that confidence. So you might be the type to batch all your social media in one day and create it for the entire month. Take off an afternoon and say, this is my social media planning. And there's no rule that it has to be original content. Keep a saved folder on your phone of favorite funny things or teachable items from other creators or other influencers that you want to repurpose. And then you can spend that half hour or afternoon planning all of those social media posts. If you're a Resolute Rock, you might like themes. So look ahead for your year. Create themed months that you're going to, prioritize, Women's Heart Month or other things. You might even love themed days. Fun Fridays, Thirsty Thursdays, you have beverages and smoothie recipes. So Resolute Rocks love predictability. It gives them a goal to look for and helps kind of narrow down the focus that could easily overwhelm a Resolute Rock when you see all the ways you can show up on social media. So embrace that. Create little buckets that you will adhere to, and it helps you stay within that lane and be gamifying social media. So the strategy you should focus on is, again, sharing industry news, research updates, these tactile, fact-based things that really light you up and feel that it's a solid foundation to support the kind of healing that you uphold and deliver for your patients. You want them to feel transformed, but social media for you could be about, here's how I do it. Here's why I use this supplement. Here are the facts behind what I do in my therapeutic protocol. This is my structured roadmap and method on how I transform patients' lives. For you, slide decks. For you, Twitter threads. You might like video summaries. You might like to pop in, but you probably prefer having an outline first, and that's okay. Go to ChatGPT and say, if I were to talk about this topic here, and you can copy and paste a topic, what would be some takeaways? How could I make this into an outline? And practice. Your first video is never going to be good. So keep practicing and showing up consistently. As a Resolute Rock, go in your comfort zone. You have that unusual ability to find ease in predictability and structure. And so you might find that you can do all video and writing and short form. You might have a lot more skills to work with as long as it's predictable and as long as it feels comfortable with you and structured. So breaking down these complex topics into small little sound bites is fun, predictable, and buildable, like Lego blocks. Did you know that burnout is the same brainwave pattern as grief under a functional MRI? This means that 63% of us in healthcare are showing up to work every day immersed in burnout and grief. No wonder we have brain fog and emotional exhaustion and depersonalization. We're on autopilot, just going through the motions. But the good news is there is an antidote. The opposite brainwave pattern is flow, the only time where your brain produces all 5 neurochemicals of happiness. And better yet, you can teach yourself to prime your brain for more flow in your work-life masterpiece. In my course, Catalyst Reclamation, I teach you my 3-step AHA method so you can practice finding more moments of flow. And when you do, you increase your happiness, your well-being, you lower your cortisol, and you flourish as the catalyst that you are transforming healthcare. So come color outside the lines with me and go to drlarasalyer.com/shop and check out the 10-hour AMA-approved CME course, Catalyst Reclamation, so that you can step into your highest creative power. And lastly, the wise wind. We love the wise wind. Let me find it here. Here we go. Yes, creative, adaptable, innovative. I have a lot of wise wind in me as well. And that's fun to embrace. Because wise winds typically are the ones that are going to first look at all the new filters, the trending sounds on TikTok, the fun dances, and they might make social media look effortless. And for them, maybe it is. But see, if you are following a wise wind on social media, and let's say you're a reflective river, and you take time to process things, you're going to feel overwhelmed following this wise wind, thinking that all social media has to be this. It doesn't. The wise wind is just inside their zone of genius. They find it fun and effortless. And who knows who's in their circle? Maybe they have like a teen kid that's showing them all the latest moves, or maybe they find it fun. But don't try to shove yourself into that wise wind box. Let yourself be who you are. But if you are a wise wind, and I'm talking to you, those out there that have a TikTok account or Instagram and have been maybe doing it already for years, and you enjoy, it's fun, then that should be your primary activity. Create stories and videos. Tell a story. Talk authentically about yourself, off from the cuff, or plan out those fun little trends and those overlays using CapCut. CapCut is where a lot of us get some of those trending kind of GIFs that will go into a TikTok or Instagram reel. And use that creativity because that lights you up as a wise wind. You're very adaptable, you're dynamic, you're innovative. And so capture that. Do some behind the scenes videos of your day. Show people how you get ready for a patient visit and what does your summary look like and how you walk to work and what do you do afterwards? Where do you go to the gym? I mean, wise winds, they're fun because they really are authentic and lower that barrier of having to have everything put together. When you repurpose your content, look at highlighting those reels. Pick the most popular one and then, repost it. Make sure that your posts are interactive. As a wise wind, you love that kind of flow with interacting with the audience. And so make sure you put into your video or your posts a question, asking people to comment below. You can use ManyChat, which is an app that will key into those keywords and then send an automatic message to that person. And wise winds love that. They're very innovative. You might have Goblin Tools already on your phone and you're knowing exactly what to do next, because Goblin Tools is amazing for excellent to-do lists or helping you craft the perfect response. You might love the idea of creating all of this content because it's engaging in that social media community. Remember, these roadmaps are going to give you a clear first start, but it's not intended to be a box that you live in. You are welcome to borrow from other archetypes. And the more you play in social media and know how you feel and your own boundaries of what felt comfortable and what did not, and the goals you might need to have, it's all a muscle that we need to practice. And social media changes. It's not your end all be all of how you're going to grow your business. It's just one element. But now that you have the confidence, you've taken the archetype quiz, you know what your dominant archetype is, and now you understand how all the other archetypes show up, maybe you'll keep this at your desk and you'll refer back to your archetype and say, I see what I'm doing here. My challenges are that I'm having a hard time focusing. Maybe I need to borrow some rigidity from that Resolute rock and get myself more focused. And let's try a different tactic. Social media is designed to be adaptable to your style. And as a practitioner, you want to be self-expressive in the healing modalities you use to transform your patients' lives. But we want to do that without burnout and with lots of creativity. So here is your right brain prescription at the end of this podcast episode. I want you to act as if. So this is part acting creatively, but also part manifesting and priming your brain neurologically. I want you to act as if you are already successful, adaptable, and excited about whatever social media you've decided to do. For example, if you are a Resolute rock, let's say that's your archetype, and you didn't realize that maybe you should try scheduling your posts and looking at sharing research. Well, then act as if you are an expert Resolute rock researcher, a thought leader. You love sharing these little bits and you're going to act as if. What would that day in the life look like? Maybe you do the afternoon trial like we suggested because you like to block out that time, have it done for the month. Act as if you're comfortable with that and it's easy for you. Or if you're a fervent flame, I want you to act as if you absolutely cannot wait to try a live episode on Instagram or TikTok. And if that's still scary, grab a friend and do it together. Act as if it's going to be easy. Act as if this is going to invoke and call in and resonate with a target audience that wants more of what you have to give. Your right brain prescription today is acting as if. I want you to spend the rest of your day or walk or wherever you're at. If you're folding laundry, fold your laundry like the best wise wind you can think of. I want you to act as if it's already happened. Drop your questions below. Contact me on social media. I'd love to hear some other social media strategies that you have found that has helped you. And let me know what archetype you are and what other content you'd like to fit with that archetype, because we got lots here in the Catalyst Studio. And our goal is to help everybody learn to practice that sixth vital sign of creativity and color outside the lines of what they thought was possible in their healthcare career. So until next time, keep coloring.